Hey YouTube, welcome back to another myth busting series where I walk through 3 different terms, phrases or opinions and tell you whether or not they are true. 99% of the time they're not true. That way you can stay away from all the bullshit within the fitness industry. And there's a lot of it. And if you have a few of them through the day, all of a sudden the calories that you're consuming through tea and tea and coffees through the day could be like 100-200 calories. If you then implement artificial sweeteners, so sweeteners rather than the sugar in that drink or in those drinks, you're still having that satisfaction of still including the drinks that you enjoy, but now all of a sudden you're 100-200 calories fewer within your diet. If you do enjoy the video, please drop a like. If you have any questions throughout, throw them down below, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the future videos, and also you'll be a bit of a legend. First and foremost, eating more protein makes you bulky. So the idea behind this is that people think that just protein directly equates to muscle mass, right? So if you eat more protein, you're going to then accumulate more muscle mass. That's why people think if they eat more protein or increase the amount of protein in their diet, they're going to become bulky because they're going to add more muscle mass or accumulate more muscle mass. And it doesn't work just as simply as that. Protein is useful for adding muscle mass and for retaining muscle mass, so therefore whether your goal is fat loss or building muscle, you are going to want to have a certain level of protein within your diet, yes. However, the process of building muscle mass requires a lot of other things than solely just protein intake. If you just eat more and more and more protein, but you aren't doing all the other necessary things like creating a good training stimulus, making sure you can recover, making sure your training performance is bang on, and doing that over time, consistently, for weeks, months and years, then eating the protein by itself and eating more and more and more of it is going to do nothing. So eating more protein doesn't mean you're going to get bulky. Adding more muscle mass over time means you'll get bulkier, whatever that subjective term means in your head, but eating protein by itself isn't going to do anything. But what it might do is help you retain muscle mass in terms of fat loss, which might help you get that shape or that look that you have pictured in your head throughout your fat loss goal. Number 2, artificial sweeteners are bad. Before we jump into this, let's just get one thing straight. If there's any statement within the fitness industry that says this thing is bad, chances are, 99.9% chances are that it is bullshit. Because nothing is ever good or bad. Normally there's pros and cons with many different things, right? There's going to be benefits and potentially negatives to doing certain things or having a certain approach to others. However, from the research that we have, artificial sweeteners are actually fine to consume unless you're consuming a ridiculous amount, which, again, 99% of people aren't going to be doing. You know, I say 99% because there might be some people out there that are literally crazy with artificial sweeteners, but I'm talking about crazy amounts. So if you're consuming artificial sweeteners in moderation, which again is actually going to be a decent amount in moderation because you need to eat a crazy amount for it to become potentially harmful, you're going to be fine. And if anything, artificial sweeteners actually might have a benefit within a fat loss goal, right? Artificial sweeteners are essentially, you know, giving you that sweet craving without the calories that come with it. And when we're trying to stay in a calorie deficit, when we're trying to control calories, that could be a huge benefit. For example, let's say you drink tea and coffee quite a lot, but in that tea and coffee normally you have like 1 or 2 sugars, right? And if you have a few of them through the day, all of a sudden the calories that you're consuming through tea and coffees through the day could be like 100-200 calories. If you then implement artificial sweeteners, so sweeteners rather than the sugar in that drink or in those drinks, you're still having that satisfaction of still including the drinks that you enjoy, but now all of a sudden you're 100-200 calories fewer within your diet, right? And if you're trying to control calories, create that calorie deficit, that could be huge. So as anything, benefits, negatives, potentially to whatever you decide to do. Artificial sweeteners aren't bad. They're fine in moderation. And again, when we talk about moderation in this example, for it to be past moderation, you have to be consuming a lot. I'm talking a crazy amount. Number 3, low carb diets are best for fat loss. Like I said, if there's any statement that claims something is bad, vice versa, if there's a statement that claims something is best. 100% this is best. This is the best thing you can do. Again, it's probably bullshit. There's been studies done that have compared low carb diets and low fat diets, and they found very, very similar results as long as, guess what? Calories are controlled. So the bottom line on this is, fats aren't better than carbs, carbs aren't better than fats for fat loss. What's going to be best is controlling and managing your calories. One of the things that's going to play on that factor is your enjoyment and flexibility with your diet, right? So, if you enjoy a low carb diet, let's say you enjoy fatty foods more, which is fine, you might find a low carb diet then works better for you. But on the other hand, if you much prefer carbohydrates and low fat foods, then you might find a high carbohydrate diet works better for you. Again, as long as calories are controlled. I personally, myself, and my advice to others who are going through a fat loss goal is actually to avoid a low carb diet if it doesn't go against their enjoyment, right? Or something that they're going to find it easier to stick to. The reason for that is because carbohydrates will play a big part in training performance and recovery, right? And through fat loss, if we're looking at retaining muscle mass, training stimulus is going to be huge, okay? So therefore training performance is going to be huge. So my advice is, as a generic sort of piece of advice, is to actually consume a decent amount of carbohydrates within your diet. But if you prefer a low carb diet because you can adhere to it better, it's more enjoyable for you, then over time that's actually going to be a better approach for you. So there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, please drop a like. Any questions throughout this, throw them down below. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care and have a great day.